The Houston Rockets have just made a massive move as this changes everything for the team now that Rafael Stone has officially signed Steven Adams to a contract extension ahead of the June 30th deadline. What does this mean for other potential offseason moves? We tell you all of that today in Rockets Digest. I appreciate you joining us. I am Jace Andrews. This is why you subscribe to Rockets Digest. Move happens, we put out a video, and I tell you what, there are 78% of you that are not subscribed right now, which means y'all aren't getting the up-to-date news, knowledge, and information on your Houston Rockets team. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free. All right, Steven Adams is officially a Houston Rocket for the next 3 seasons as we get this from ESPN insider Shams Charania, who says this in his latest tweet. Just in, Houston Rockets center Steven Adams has agreed to a 3-year, $39 million contract extension to stay with the franchise, sources tell ESPN. After playing a key rotation and leadership role in the Rockets' playoff run, the new deal keeps a top center out of free agency. Keyword is out of free agency because as of right now, the Rockets were the only team that can make a contract extension or even a contract offer to Steven Adams. You see, until June 30th, he was only allowed to talk to the Houston Rockets. After that, he could talk to anybody. And there was rumors that there was some big prices being placed on him in places like Los Angeles, the Lakers really needing a center. A couple other places were looking at getting Steven Adams. So the fact the Rockets were able to do this is a huge thing. Now, $39 million is a lot of money to pay, even over 3 years. That's $12 million, and we'll get into the money and how this affects potential moves later on this offseason in just a second. But for right now, let's forget the money. Let's talk about why this was a good move for the Houston Rockets in terms of stats. Shams Charania again saying this. Adams played 58 games after missing the 2023-2024 season and averaged 22.1 minutes in the playoffs in a critical role for the team that was plus 44 with him on the floor versus minus 44 without. Adams led the NBA in offensive rebounding percentage this season as well. Now, this is all great stats to talk about with Steven Adams, but I think the first tweet says it best. He is a veteran leader, and the double big lineup that Houston was able to possess when it was Alperen Şengün and Steven Adams was otherworldly in a lot of different times this season. Now, I don't think Steven Adams was used to as much as we would have liked in the playoffs. However, it is kind of interesting when you talk about a bench player getting $12 million a year. And so that makes me think there's a couple things going on with the Houston Rockets. The first is they have a bigger role for Steven Adams this year, and why not? Because he has been fantastic in the rebounding efforts. Now, he is going into his age 32 season. His field goal percentage is fantastic. However, his average points per game are below 4, but his rebounds are 5.6. But the big thing, and something that I think is really overlooked with Steven Adams, is the way that he can control a team and the superstars that I think he should be compared to. Because here is the best net rating over the last 10 NBA regular seasons combined. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic. You have Chris Paul down there, Donovan Mitchell, Klay Thompson, and Steven Adams. That's some names that I'd like to be compared to. In fact, Steven Adams is the only person in the entire NBA to have a positive rating his first 10 years in the NBA. Every single year he has been in a positive net rating. That is something you do not see that often. Hence why he's the only player ever to do that. Now, Steven Adams, again, $12 million is a lot. So that's where we kind of have to go into a bunch of different questions here about how does this affect the rest of the offseason for the Houston Rockets? Well, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is a couple of different offseason topics. KD, Fred VanVleet's contract situation. This really could have some major implications on both of these topics. We'll start first with Kevin Durant. We know that Kevin Durant is expected to be traded within the next few days, according to Shams Charania. We're going to have another video on the favorite, and the betting odds continue to change, but we'll talk about it in a later on video. However, this changes everything for the Houston Rockets for a couple of different reasons. $12 million is a lot of money to put into a backup center, and that's what Steven Adams is being labeled as. On top of which you also have the Fred VanVleet contract, which Shams Charania also talked about in his article. See if we can go find that. Here it is. Shams Charania again said this in his article about Steven Adams, saying, quote, Houston has until June 29th to make a decision on guard Fred VanVleet's $44.9 million team option, and there's mutual interest on a reunion, sources said, end quote. This guarantees me that the Rockets will be declining that option for Fred VanVleet, and they will try to sign him on a more team-friendly long-term deal. Now, in terms of Kevin Durant, how does this affect pretty much everything going on with that? Well, you have to look at the contract table here for the Houston Rockets. Right now, this is with the Steven Adams contract. They have negative $92 million cap space, whatever. The first apron cap space is what I'm looking at. They are now $7 million over that first apron. That is a bit of a concern. However, that still includes $44 million of Fred VanVleet, which in my mind, he's going to get a contract similar to what Steven Adams just got, maybe $11, $12 million. So in that case, you're taking off the books for the first apron around $30 million. So wipe that away. You're saying minus $7 million now. Quick math, you're going up to about $22, $23 million. You got $23 million in cap space. Kevin Durant is going to be worth more than that. That's where the question arises. Are the Rockets more concerned about keeping Fred VanVleet on a long-term, team-friendly deal, or if Kevin Durant, if the rumors we're hearing are true that the Rockets are interested in Kevin Durant, are they willing to sign him and decline the team option for Fred VanVleet and say sayonara? That's a big thing. Now, Steven Adams, I think, definitely deserved to be signed by this Houston Rockets team because he has led, or his team has led the NBA in offensive rebound every year he has been healthy in the NBA. The Thunder for 5 straight seasons. Then he went to the Pelicans. Then he went, of course, with the Memphis Grizzlies, got injured, and here now with the Houston Rockets. 8 out of 9 seasons he has been in the league. His team has led in offensive rebounding. So that is just a huge thing to kind of keep watch of. And so now we sit here and say, okay, there's a couple of different situations that Rafael Stone now gets to break down. And this cap space is a huge part about it. You're down $7 million. That is an easy fix. Fred VanVleet's contract can easily be team optioned, and boom, you're right back in the positive. And we know the Rockets do want to stay under that first apron, as you would expect. With Kevin Durant, this, to me, makes me feel as though if Kevin Durant is signed, I do not believe if Kevin Durant is traded to the Rockets, I think Fred VanVleet will not be in Houston Rocket Red next year. Strictly for the fact of they would need to not have any money, basically, with Fred VanVleet. The hard part about this, and something that, listen, I know Fred VanVleet is a team player guy. He wants to be with the Rockets. The Rockets want him to be with this franchise. The hard part about this is Fred VanVleet also knows his worth. And just saw the Rockets that they gave Steven Adams, a backup player, a bench player. Now, he could have a better role this season, we'll see. But as of what we see him as, he is a bench player who just got $12 million. If I'm Fred VanVleet, I understand that I am not worth $44 million. Grot that. But you just told me a backup center is worth $12 million. So in my mind, I may not be worth $44 million. That's okay. But I'm at least worth more than that. And in that case, you're talking a $15 million contract. So instead of 44 going to 10 or 9, you're talking 44 going to 15 or 20, making $20 million off. Now, you still get put back into that positive cap space realm, but it leaves little to no space to go out and sign or trade for a top player. Now, there is a big contract with Jalen Green, and if you do trade him with the trade to Kevin Durant, the money could still work for sure. But there is a lot of decisions to be made, and this is the first of many moves for the Rockets to make. And to me, it makes me think the Rockets are very serious about winning this upcoming season, which I love. Now, continuity has been mentioned. This team wants to keep him as whole as possible as they were last year. But we also know that Rafael Stone has said, I will make the moves to make this team better. This was the first of those moves. Let me know what you think of this signing. Rate it 1 through 10. Do you think it was an overpay? Is it something that maybe you would have given him a little less money, see if he would have bid? Or was this necessary? Did the Rockets need to have Steven Adams back? And in that case scenario, was it worth maybe overpaying him a little more than probably what he would have gotten on the open market? The Lakers might have paid him about this much, but still, to keep him here, to not even worry about him going into free agency, you pay him probably a little bit more than you wanted to. What do you think about this signing? And that does it for me for now. Again, we're going to have another video talking about Kevin Durant and all the latest on him. There was actually a new report last night. At this point, we got new reports coming in basically every hour, so we'll keep you updated with that. So hit that subscribe button, but we will see you next time here on Rockets Digest. I'm Jace Andrews saying peace out. See you next time from H-Town.